Welcome back to my channel, ladies and gentlemen. It's your boy Slam Dangles. Today we're going to be looking at Petscop number 9 with 17 as a retrospect. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And without further ado, let's get into Petscop. So Petscop 9 starts right at the title screen, but there's no music playing. We then see a loading screen, which at first reminded me of the road that Paul walks down at the end of Petscop 17, but it's more than likely just a reused asset. We're then taken to a demo mode where the main character, or the Guardian, is inside Even Care and is collecting the very first gifts of the game. The demo mode then brings us to the first puzzle of Petscop, the numbered treadmill. Now, in the demo mode, we see the Guardian solving the treadmill puzzle. Every even number is red. He loves me not, which is going to be later referenced in the line, "Good grief and alas," from Dr. Seuss. "Good grief and alas" is actually a reference to the Dr. Seuss book, Maisie Had Daisy, where Daisy is growing a daisy out of her head, much like Care is. The Guardian lands on number 3. There are 3 versions of Care: Care A, Care B, and Care NLM. Now, as we know with Petscop, everything is a clue to something else. So the Guardian landing and staying on 3 for a while must really mean something. To me, it references the 3 versions of Care. Once the Guardian lands on 0 in the demo mode, the game seems to crash and we're brought to Care's house. Now here we see Care's face is either glitching or, as many Redditors have said, her face is on fire. This is when we first see Paul being able to turn the Guardian into the Shadow Monster Man. With the Guardian being Shadow Monster Man, he can now access the windmill.
It only works when I go this way.
The game fades to black, and now we see Paul playing the Guardian as Shadow Monster Man in front of the windmill.
Kidding me.
Now here we see, according to the Petscop fandom wiki, that in Petscop 6 is when we first see the Shadow Monster Man. The Shadow Monster Man has an identical character model to Marvin, except for a black horn. Now I'm going to touch on this later on in the video, but it is my belief, and it seems to be the belief of others, that Shadow Monster Man is also Marvin. Once we're inside the windmill, we can see a face spinning on an object on the top of the screen. Once Paul takes the gifts, the internal mechanism starts working again and a loud rumbling sound is heard. The game goes to black and we're back as Paul again and not as the Shadow Monster Man. Paul uses the art easel puzzle to get to Care. We're now in a bedroom with another Paul.
Okay.
Paul looks at the table and we see a tool and a windmill. This is Lena's room. Paul reads the note. I think it's really interesting that once Paul uses the art easel puzzle to get to Care, we're in a room with another Paul. This scene is what convinced me that there may be multiple timelines occurring in the story. In one of my comments from the Petscop 17 analysis, user xmish16 brought up an idea. They don't think that the compass section of Petscop 17 was a puzzle, but a way to track different playthroughs. This is helping my theory that there may be multiple timelines. So Rainer is trying to solve the mystery of what Marvin did to Lena and left this letter to Marvin in Lena's room. Maybe if Rainer figures out what Marvin did to Lena, maybe that'll explain why he did to Care what he did, abducting her, bringing her to her abandoned school for 5 months. Marvin's friend was reborn as Care. Marvin's wife knew this, so it's possible that Marvin knew this as well. Marvin may have kidnapped Care and brought her to the abandoned school in an attempt to hide what he did. This is when I think Marvin's darker side, the Shadow Monster Man, actually comes into existence. There's some sort of frustration or anger inside of him, and at the windmill is when he realized it. Now, when Paul makes it to Lena's party, there are presents and a cake with a single slice taken out of it, just like in Petscop 17. Paul receives a green key and then sees the censored object that we learned in Petscop 20 is actually on Casket 2.
What the fuck? Okay, so there's a bit of weirdness with the camera here.
Notice how the camera doesn't seem to be following Paul right now. It seems to be guiding Paul. Well, it actually guides Paul to another gift. When we go inside the gift, it plays orchestral music. This same music is in Petscop 14. And this is a clip from Petscop 14.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Paul looks at a picture of Tonith and Randus. It says, "Are they not cute? Give them a chance." In the next room, a sign says, when you're choosing a pet, find one that you like. You don't have to love them right away. The next sign says, don't be discouraged if they run from you. They really do want a home. They're afraid. Show them that there's nothing to be afraid of. There's a trophy for Amber in the next room for being a real champ yesterday and today. She hasn't left her cage once, so Amber is actively trying to escape. Now remember in my Petscop 17 analysis, I brought up the theory that maybe Care is channeling Toneth to speak for her? Maybe the friend that disappeared at the windmill is channeling Amber. Paul uses the treadmill puzzle and leaves it at -1. When he walks off the treadmill, the game crashes. Paul is back in the new maker plane, and we see Care covering her face, and he catches her. Paul goes into the options, and it says, you're in the other place too. Care NLM's option says Care NLM escaped from the school's basement and wandered the new maker plane for days. Now we know from Petscop 17 that Marvin kidnapped her and she was left in an abandoned school for 5 months. To catch her, you had to lie, but it may not be a lie forever. I feel like this could be a reference to how Marvin had to use the birthday cake to lure her back, but it could mean something else. This line here further supports my theory that there may be multiple timelines going on. You're the new maker. You can turn Care NLM into Care A and close the loop. Are Care and Lena stuck in a loop? Now remember from the options it says you're in the other place too. At this point I strongly feel there's multiple timelines going on. On top of what we saw in Petscop 17, which I thought was a puzzle, the one YouTube comment pointing out that the compass isn't actually a puzzle but a way to keep track of multiple playthroughs. I believe it was in Petscop 6 when Paul asked the same question of where is my house, the red tool says you'll never go home. In the response to the question where is the school, the red tool responds you can't go back in time. In Petscop 17, a spell has Paul retracing Care steps or going back in time. There's also the line, a curse that changes your past, but the tool said we can't go back in time. Earlier in Petscop 9, we saw 2 Pauls. Also from earlier in this episode, your friend and the windmill both disappeared into thin air. Did something happen in the future that erased part of the past? There's the line from Petscop 17, your friend was reborn as your daughter. From Petscop 17, you were blind. Your movements stopped making sense, bumping into walls and doors, dodging invisible obstacles. Was Care momentarily possessed by Lena and was retracing Lena's steps? Now here we see the words good grief and alas, which is obviously the reference to Dr. Seuss's Daisy Head Maisie. So here we see the game not knowing what month or year it is. The game doesn't seem to have a strong sense of time. Now we're about to see Paul catch Care NLM again, but we already caught Care NLM. Is this proof of the multiple timeline theory? Is this just another playthrough? Notice how the game seems to fade to black before we actually catch Care NLM for the second time. So that's it. That's the end of Petscop number 9. We got a lot of questions answered from Petscop 17. A lot of questions answered, to be honest. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of this video. Let me know what else you would like to see from this channel. I'm Slam Dangles, signing off. See you guys.